Hi everyone, how's it going? So this conversation is a very cheerful conversation with Anamika, and the reason I love this a lot is because it gave me so much learnings. There are a lot of things, and you will eventually figure out my the feeling of awe that I had throughout the conversation. And there were a lot of things that I could never look at them that way, and the kind of horizons she opened up for me in my brain. I think that, I absolutely enjoyed this conversation. I hope you do enjoy the conversation as well. I'll be attaching the LinkedIn of Anamika in the description box, so you can reach out to her. She's an amazing conversationalist, and I'm sure you will enjoy your conversation with her. Just make sure you're thankful. Just make sure you have the sense of gratitude, because if you don't have that, I don't think the conversation is going to be fruitful, right? And yes, thank you so much. I just want to thank all of you for supporting the podcast. And yeah, just follow me on Instagram at the rate the Mani Kamra podcast. If you have any queries, any comments, any feedback, just write to me on info at the rate manikamra.com, or you just reach out to me on my Instagram. And yes, that being said, let's get to the conversation. Thank you. Sanamika, welcome to the Mani Kamra podcast. I'm so excited to have you. The conversation I had with you a few weeks ago had a huge impact on me, and I just knew that I have to get you on the podcast. So yes, tell us, how are you, and just a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
Manik, I have been so excited about this, almost like a child, especially because I've heard through so many of your podcasts, and I have always noticed the variety of your topics and your calm demeanor, your insightful questions, your non-judgmental attitude. And I was completely thrilled because this invite came out of the blue. So I was like, yay, I'm going to be on the Manik Kamra podcast. That's wonderful. So thank you for having me. That is awesome. About what I do. So, what I do is I run an institute and it's called Mama's Lecture Theatre. Don't ask me
Mhm.
about the name, it's my children's name for my institute.
Well,
And
I
they
find it
say,
very interesting, to be clear.
and there's a story behind it. They say that, because I'm always like a mom, and I
Okay.
firmly believe that I treat everybody with that same eye of being like a mom and then telling them things. And lecture because I am constantly lecturing everybody, and theater
Hmm.
because I'm a little theatrical. So they think that, Mama's Lecture Theater is what it is. But what it actually does is it's an institute that offers help to socioeconomically disadvantaged students or citizens of India, and mostly to do with their social and moral conscience and by raising their employability. I also get requests from college students and other institutes asking me to speak, and I do that willingly and happily as much as I can. The idea being to increase employability for Indians and to make sure that the world gets to see Indians as knowledgeable people, who are also humble, who are full of good character. That's where my
Right.
aim is. Yeah.
That is amazing. And yes, we are going to talk about gratitude and thankfulness. And so you talked about employability, and this is a part that I want to touch in the later half of our podcast. But first, just let's get our basics right. And I think a lot of people do confuse gratitude and good manners. So if you can just enlighten us, okay, what gratitude is, what are good manners, and how do we make sure that we don't confuse them often?
Okay, okay. So to understand that, first you have to go into what gratitude actually is.
Okay.
Gratitude is actually a cultivated behavior. It's a pattern of thought. It's a process that allows you to delve into really seeking out others' thoughtfulness that preceded an event. For instance, if your friend gets you a gift, okay, so you would either say thank you, which is great manners, you see.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're actually wanting to fill your heart with gratitude, you would go about and see how much that person actually gone out, thought about you, thought about what you like, and then purchased something for you. And that gives an entirely different spin to what gratitude is. So, gratitude is a process of learning about feelings that are associated with receiving something and then expressing it and explaining what that feeling was. So, in effect, gratitude is learned. It's actually coming through your parents. And that's why most of us lag behind, because I've noticed this, that a lot of Indian parents, and I'm sorry to say this, but because I'm also Indian, I can say it. And I believe that
Mm-hmm.
we are losing out because our kids are going out with a feeling of entitlement, which is the exact opposite of gratitude. Because when we tell, for instance, let's say our kids come home and they say that, oh, today I forgot my lunch and someone else gave it to me. So then it is our job not just to say, did you say thank you, but also to tell her, oh, wasn't that so kind?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a
Yeah.
nice thing? She didn't have to do that. So what did she do? Oh, wasn't that wonderful? And how did that make you feel? And did you communicate that feeling? Then the thank you comes into play. You see, so just by saying thank you, which is great manners, it doesn't help you because you're not getting the gratitude, the feeling associated with that. Yeah. And that's why
I,
oftentimes people can't understand why they have to say thank you. I didn't even feel it, or I didn't think it, I didn't want to,
mm-hmm.
because they don't associate what happened with it, the thoughtfulness that went behind it. That's why it's different.
So your answer actually opened a box in my head. I think that has been closed for a very long time, because so what you when you were talking about how it comes from our parents and how you like, as you gave an example of saying thank you. So when I was younger, my parents taught me, okay, whenever you see an elder person, you have to say namaste, right?
Hmm.
If someone says
Hmm.
thank you, you say welcome. If someone does something for you, you say thank you, right?
Hmm.
Now, these are my good manners, that I say namaste, I say thank you, I say welcome. But I never meant that, because I never understood what namaste means, or what welcome means, right? Or what thank you actually means. These were like just an automated response
Hmm.
responses
Hmm.
that I had. Okay, I'd see a
Hmm.
person and say namaste, although I never meant it. I would see a person welcome. Okay, these are my good manners, but what if I don't mean it? What if I don't need that person in my home again? Yeah, so it just
Correct.
your answer
Correct.
just took me back to when I was, what, 6 7 years old. And well, I am, well, it
Hmm.
just put me into a lot of thought, so thank you for that. And I think I'm going to make sure that whenever I say thank you, I actually mean it.
Because you know what, when we separate the words thank you from the feeling thank you, that is gratitude. We often confuse it with good manners, because thank you is good manners, but we are looking for beyond the action of the gift and seeing actually what was done, asking why it was done, did they need to do it for us, and then looking at that and assessing the emotional response from
Mhm.
that, being the recipient of someone's generosity, and
Yeah.
that understanding is what gratitude is about.
Hmm.
you know
So
yeah.
often, so a lot of things that I've learned them the hard way. So just want to
Yeah.
understand, because you speak so, like, whenever you speak about thankfulness, gratitude, I can sense that you actually mean it. You speak about it with a lot of passion. So just want to understand, like, how did you learn it? Did you learn it the hard way, or did it just come to you? Was it your values? Was it your upbringing? So just want to understand, how did the concept of gratitude, thankfulness, how did that come to you?
Gratitude has been big in my life. I mean, I have always been known as the person who says too many thank yous, but I will not just say thank you. I tell them why I'm thankful, because I think it comes from my mom and how she brought us up, asking us to really seek into why are people doing that for you. They're not supposed to, they don't need to, but they're still doing something, right? So can you see why they did that? Yeah. And you think about it, and that's when you start thinking about it, that's what cultivates it, because it's a cultured behavior. It's not, we're not born with it, it's a pattern of thought that needs to be grown, right? And then it becomes completely subconscious, that it just comes with it, and you completely understand that it just something that you just want to express the gratitude. And that's how it comes about. So saying thank you is completely different, that's manners. But really saying thank you, that's gratitude. It's a bit weird. Because
No,
you
I
can.
totally get you. I totally get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
This, so whatever you said, again, it puts me into a lot of thought. And then I think about so like all the circles that I have, like my relationships with my family, my friends, and my colleagues, and everything. So, and you talked about the culture of gratitude. So how do you cultivate that culture? Like, if you can share a few tips, because I'm sure so because people say that you are a person who says a lot of, who thanks a lot. So I'm sure
Mm.
you are able to cultivate that kind of culture around you, in your children, in any person around you, or in the circles around you, any network that you have. So how does a person do that, cultivate the culture of gratitude in around people? Like, let's say if I have friends who don't feel gratitude towards themselves or don't feel gratitude towards others, how do I start? Where do I start it from?
See, most people don't like to be lectured. So anyone who's telling somebody something is anyway, they'll be like, oh no. So I can't actually tell anyone. I don't do that. But when I thank people, it's because I see the heart behind the action and the thought that was put in. So which is what I'm grateful for, not just the outcome or the event, right? So that's when I express it that way, then suddenly people around me, probably I've noticed this, that they try to say it in the same way, back to me. So maybe it's helping some people. I don't know. For my children, I have complete control over them, right? so, so that for now is fine. But when you said to me that you've been privileged enough to have moved out and learned that, and you recognize that privilege, there is your gratitude. The fact that you already recognize, you Manik. You know what I mean? And that recognition, that understanding is gratitude. That is the first step. That is the process of learning. So, a
Wow.
lot of us learn from that, and some of us don't learn from it. And people that don't learn from it are just blocking doors and not letting anything good happen to them because they can't see. The fact is, a lot of people say that, I maintain a gratitude journal and I do this, and it's opening my eyes. However, when I looked into some of those journals, I found that most of them will say, oh, I'm so thankful for my house, for my car, for my relationship, for my husband, for my brother, whatever. But why are you thankful? Unless you delve into that, you're never really going to be thankful. So you can maintain a journal that is a big fat journal for 180 pages with only saying, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, until you actually start to associate why you're thankful with it, that the feeling of gratitude is stuck inside your heart. Until that feeling doesn't come out, it doesn't actually work. So gratitude is only working with feelings, and it doesn't work. Then people say, oh, I'm so thankful about my house, but the universe is supposed to reward gratitude and it doesn't seem to be working. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, because you're just saying thank you, you're not actually feeling the feeling of thank you. So there's one way which psychologists often ask you to do, and I'm telling this from because I've studied it,
Hmm.
is called subtraction method. So what they say is, if you're having trouble being thankful for something, as in being gratitude, feeling gratitude towards something, then think of something that is minus from your life. Think of it as not being in your life, and then what would your life be like? Let's say, for instance, you're thankful about your relationship with your brother, but you don't really, sometimes you're angry with him and you say, oh my God, I just don't like him. And, I don't want to be, I'm not thankful for him, but when
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
start imagining your life without that, as in a subtraction method, then you say, oh my goodness, I cannot live like this. I need him. And that's when you start to see all the good things in him. And that's why, this method seems to work. So that
It's
is one thing
very
I
it's
ask. Yeah.
very interesting. So one mind-blowing thing that you said was that how recognizing our privileges is also a
Yes.
gratitude. And
I
if you
didn't say
remember,
it. You said
I
it.
I we
You
just
said it, Mahit.
yeah.
You said it. You said that you recognize the privilege that you had for moving out, being
Yeah, but
given a
no,
chance.
no, I never thought that recognizing your privilege is also showing gratitude. Like these are two separate things, and when you like joined them, my mind was blown. So that's
Mm,
amazing thing. Second, it's very interesting. So the subtraction method that you're talking about, I follow a philosophy called Stoicism. So they also have a
mm,
similar concept. The wording is
mm.
different. It's called negative visualization. You
Ah,
visualize so
mm,
let's say if I'm eating my food and I visualize, okay, what if I don't have food tomorrow, or if I'm meeting a close friend of mine, or if I'm meeting my parents, and
mm,
when I think that what if they're not there anymore tomorrow, what if they pass, then I will
mm,
feel more. Yeah, first, I'll enjoy the moment, right?
mm,
Because there's no certainty. Second, I'll feel
mm,
thankful that this moment exists, right?
mm.
And there's another thing. It's called retrospective negative visualization. So in that, what
Correct.
happens? When something bad happens, let's say, a close friend of mine passes away. So
Right.
to cope up with that feeling, I will negative visualize retrospectively, which means I'll be thankful that
Mm,
he or she or whoever my friend is, they had this much life. If they lived for 26 years, I'll be thankful that at least they lived for 26 years. So I think that's
mm.
amazing, how, like, obviously the
That is a
words are
wonderful
different, but
attitude. Yes,
at the end the concept is same. I think that's beautiful.
absolutely. Thank you. That is wonderful. That is a very good perspective to have for anyone listening. I love that. Yeah, super.
Absolutely. So one thing, so I was talking about, how I have friends, I think they don't feel gratitude. And then there's this one day when I was talking to them about gratitude, about thankfulness, about mindfulness. And then I
Mm,
figured out then there are a lot of people who feel gratitude towards themselves or towards others. Like they have the feeling, but they cannot, like, they're not just expressive. They cannot express probably
mm,
to themselves or probably to others. So just want to understand how
mm,
much or what's the importance of expressing the gratitude, and how can let's say someone is an introvert, they're not able to express it very clearly. How should they do that?
mm. I think expressing gratitude has very little to do with introversion or extroversion. I think it's about how you feel. If you don't feel the feeling, you can't express it. So oftentimes there is one part of it that it comes from entitlement, that you just can't see that someone else has done something for you, because when someone has done something for you, you will automatically feel that, and to feel that you will say it. And if you don't find the words, actual words, thank you, there are other ways to say it also. For instance, you can say, oh my god, this made my day, or you're so kind, you've no idea how much this helps me, or you wrote this for me and that is fabulous, it just lifted my spirits, or I was feeling bad. Or there are so many different ways to express thank you without actually saying thank you. So people who are shy can choose those words, a different set of words, but it is about saying it. And oftentimes I have noticed in all my study and all the time that I have spent talking to people and training them, that not being able to express gratitude is, I read it somewhere yesterday, I think I completely forgot what who said it, but that is thanks to my brain cells dying slowly. But it says that a gratitude not expressed is like a present that's been wrapped and it's not been given. That
Oh,
makes no sense. It's like it loses its value, right? There's no value to it at all. It's just sitting there in your house. What's the point if the other person doesn't know it? So to me it makes no sense at all, and it all comes from the fact that when people actually start to think that gratitude is something that should happen, but it doesn't just happen unless it's practiced from life, from the very time that you're children, because gratitude is a learned behavior, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
expression of gratitude is also a learned behavior. And when people will understand that the effect gratitude has on someone else, on the person receiving it, then they will maybe be more open to it. You know,
Got it. Got it. I really like the analogy that you used, that, gratitude not expressed is like a gift that, like,
it's
present
not me.
that's grabbed and not given.
Yeah, it's not me. I've forgotten who wrote it. I've forgotten who wrote it, but it's out there somewhere if someone wants to check it up. But it
Mhm.
was beautiful, and I completely understand this and get it. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
but it's
I
also
love the analogy.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But a lot of times people don't understand what gratitude does to somebody else. Like, let's say, Manik, if I say thank you to you, what's it doing to you? If I
mhm.
understand that, also make it easier for me to give my thanks. You know?
Got it. Got it.
Mm,
So, since you have started this conversation about what does it do to other persons, so I just want to
mm,
understand what is the, like, sort of impact of gratitude, or just feeling that feeling of gratitude or thankfulness in
mm.
relationships, any kind of relationship, be it your romantic relationship, be it your relationship with your children, with your parents, with your friends, with your colleagues. So what does it do? And I know the answer, but I'm sure you'll have to
Oh,
add a
because
new
you know
perspective.
so
So
much.
just want to understand.
No. You talk. You tell me. You tell me. Because I know you know it. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like obviously we connect to the person on a better level, and I think you feel worthy. Let's say I did something for, and I don't know if it's the right thing, but yes, I do feel worthy when I
Mm,
did something for someone and then they, they express their gratitude towards me. So the biggest thing that they do, like the biggest thing that I feel is I feel worthy. And then when
mm,
I express this gratitude to myself, it makes me
mm,
it makes me feel worthy, boost my self-esteem, boost my self-confidence. And again, it helps me to deal with the imposter syndrome that I may have, right? So
mm,
I think the major thing that it does to me is I feel worthy. And I think
mm.
if someone else does it for me, I feel worthy. Let's be honest, I do that. I do feel that.
Absolutely. And you're not alone in thinking that, because this, see, the ability to express gratitude is a powerful tool that you can use to tilt the scales in your favor. You can actually make people want to do things for you. It invokes such a powerful feeling of connection that is brought about by acknowledging respect. That means, let's say Manik has done something for me, and I show that. Now you feel worthy, you feel valued, you feel seen, you feel liked, right? And all of the time, one of our basic intrinsic needs as human beings is to feel liked and needed. And gratitude fills that need. So it is possible to use gratitude to get what you want, you know? And so when people don't understand that and don't express it, I feel like they're blocking their own ways. When we are at the receiving end of such a heartful thank you, it does make us feel valued. It makes us feel like doing more of what they want, right? Are you there?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving that tangent on which we are talking, and something that you said before the conversation, and I'm very excited to listen to that. So
Hmm.
you gave that affirmation again, that it
Hmm.
helps us to get what we want. We want to feel worthy. And then
Yes.
something that you said, it also helps us to not get what we don't want. I'm very
Don't.
excited, very much looking forward to understand what does that mean, because I could understand a little bit, but most of it went over my head. So I'm very excited. Just tell me, it's been because I think it's been a few days. You told me boundaries and gratitude, and I've been thinking about that. I could not find anything on Google, but I've been thinking about, okay, what could it be? And then you added
Yeah,
a new perspective. You added a new perspective that it helps you to get what you want, and it helps you to not get what you don't want. So
yes,
just tell me.
yes, nonsense. You did not get what you want. Correct. Yeah. See, boundaries can be of two kinds, and that gratitude can be used to create these boundaries as well. One is where you understand a potential difference between the giver and the receiver, right? So obviously, there's that kind of boundary, and obviously, when I know that you are above me and you've given me something, I'm creating that. I mean, I know that there's a boundary, and therefore I will be respectful and thankful anyway, automatically. But the other counter boundary is when it gets you, is what you use for not getting what you want. Okay. And that means it prevents you from getting what you don't want. Okay. For instance, let me say, in parenting. Okay, let's say this, a lot of parents will understand with me. Your child is playing outside, he doesn't want to come home, it's time for dinner, and he's just not returning home. And this has happened with me as a parent. Okay, so my 9-year-old son doesn't want to come home. So I've called him in, and by the time he comes, everyone's dinner is done, and I'm sitting. And this is an everyday story when I'm just sitting here waiting for him to wrap up. Okay. So one day I decided this is enough. So I'm just telling him, listen, Josh, I think it's simply fabulous that you're coming here so late and eating the last. So he says, why, Mama? So I said, because I want to thank you, because I know that whoever eats the last is the one to clean the kitchen. He's the one to sort out the house. He's the one to switch off all the lights and close the doors, turn on the washing machine. So I'm so glad you're doing that for me today. So I want to thank you. The next day, first person at the table is my son. So that is a
Oh
thank
my
you
God,
that is
that's
used.
like unlocking a whole new level of uh
That's a
application
boundary.
of gratitude. That is amazing. Never,
And
I don't think even in my wildest of dreams I could ever think of that. No, I don't think that cannot happen. No, I could have never thought of that.
yeah. There's another one for employees. When you're working and you'll have
Mhm.
lots of, your colleagues, there are always employees who get the maximum tasks from other colleagues, who'll say, hey, listen, you're sitting here, you do this, while they themselves are chatting and yakking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this has also happened when I have given this advice to somebody as well and it's worked in their favor, is when people are coming to you and giving you more than you're supposed to do, more than your task, you're shouldering their responsibilities. That time, and if you're not assertive enough and you don't know how to say this, you can
Hmm.
always tell them, hey, listen, I know you give me all of these things to do and I can't thank you enough. Because of this, I am learning so much. In fact, the other day I got a rumor saying I'm ready for a promotion because I am doing so much outside of my job, and for which I will make sure that I thank you in my speech the very next day. No more work from this employee.
I remember the first conversation we had, you told me, okay, how like
Yes,
you just suggested me something that has to do something with thankfulness and gratitude and the kind of values and the kind of behaviors that we should have at workplaces. And I just want to understand, and you have already given one example, but if you can also elaborate the impact of just being just having this feeling of gratitude at your workplace, and what does it do to your employability?
okay. Okay. So what gratitude and employability is is linked from ages old. I don't know if you have heard of Sanskrit shlokas which we had to study in school. Okay. So there's one of my favorite ones, okay, which says Vidya Dadati Vinayam. Vidya
Hmm.
is knowledge and it gives Vinay. Vinay is humility. Okay. So Vidya Dadati Vinayam, Vinyadyati Patratvam. Patratva Dhanamapnoti, Dhanadharman Tata Sukham, which means that knowledge gives us humility, and humility is a character strength. And people with this strength of character will earn money, and with that money, they can do good deeds that ultimately lead to happiness. So, employability and humility are intrinsically linked. This concept is ages old. They've already known that employability you will get once the more humble you are, the better you will rise. Because the point is, if your education hasn't brought you humility, then you haven't learned anything. Because true knowledge lets us know that there's so much more that we don't know. And that's such a humbling feeling. And once you're humble, then you feel that gratitude for anything else coming your way. Humility is ultimately the ability to say thank you also, isn't it? And
Absolutely, absolutely.
that's how gratitude and employability are linked. And this is not from today, this is from ages old, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I find this beautiful that, gratitude
Mm.
not only makes you feel worthy, but also gets you more money.
Yes, yes, but it does. It does because it opens weird doors that you don't know about. You might have said thank you to someone and expressed it in a right way, and told them like everything it has a right way and a wrong way, but you expressed it in a right way, and people have understood that and remembered that. And the next time something happens, they will think of you, right? And they
Yeah,
will
true,
call you
true.
to do something for them because they're working behind the scenes just for your benefit, and you don't even know it. It's only because you were able to express your gratitude, you know?
Got it, got it. So I have a
Yeah.
thought, and just want to understand. So when I was talking about, how introverts cannot express, so
Hmm.
I think expressing gratitude can, and this is according to me, gratitude can also be expressed in various ways. For example, how we all have different kinds of love languages. Let's say,
Correct.
my way of showing gratitude is that I hug you,
Mm,
right? I may
mm,
not say thank you, but I have that feeling and I
mm,
hug you. Or my way of showing gratitude
mm,
is I gift you a book, right? Or I take a walk with you,
mm,
or I just smile at
mm,
you, right? Or I may write
mm,
it on a piece of paper and give it to you.
mm,
So just want to understand
mm.
what could be the various means of showing gratitude to a person.
Mm. All of these, like you said, but not everything fits into every scenario. Like it's okay to be affectionate, but in a colleague, in a boss scenario at work, this might not work, right? So that's why we have different ways of saying thank you, and then they're all well. But some of the things that there are do's and don'ts, of course. Like in a social scenario with friends, especially a thanks is acceptable, but it's fleeting and casual reference to what has happened. So in formal settings, we have to use the entire phrase like thank you. But like you said, writing something which is wonderful, because once if someone writes a thank you for me, I can always
Mhm.
go back to it if I'm feeling down, and then I read through it and I say, oh my God, that felt so good, and incites these wonderful feelings in me again. It can bring me positivity. So it works either way. Any of these ways is fine, like you said. But no matter what it is, the right way is actually to tie it in with what was done that you're grateful for. So whether it's a hug that you're giving, you have to tell them, or that, I actually had, I was feeling down and now you did this for me and it makes me feel so nice and thank you. And that's when you're hugging them, because you can't say the words. That's fine also, you know like we discussed this earlier, there are so many other ways to use this. Whatever it is, even if it's a note or an email, even that is fine, as long as gratitude is expressed in some way. It's powerful, and that's what it needs to do.
Beautiful. I used to work with an organization, and then we used to have a like sort of ritual. It was called sugar cubes. So let's say if
Mm,
you so there used to be like conferences, okay, physical conferences, and at the end of the day, like the last day, there used to be
mm,
like envelopes all over the wall, and it has like your name written on it, and it says
mm.
sugar cubes for Manik, right?
Oh,
Now any person who
mm,
wants to show gratitude to me, they would write it on a piece of paper and put it in that envelope. And I think
mm,
that's a beautiful way. And you know what you said, that you can just
mm,
go back to that and have those feelings again, right? And in my podcast, I always do this one thing. Like
mm.
I always touch on this thing. So I was having a conversation about listening, empathetic listening. Now,
I heard that. Yes, yes,
yeah,
I heard
thank
through that.
you.
Very
Wow,
nice.
thank you. Okay, so in the starting, like we, and I think all of us talk about how we should listen to others, but at the end of the day, we fail to listen to ourselves, right? And again,
Mm,
I think it applies to gratitude as well. We
mm,
sometimes, and we put a lot of conscious effort in showing
mm,
gratitude to others, but at the end, not always, but I think a lot of times you
mm,
fail to show gratitude to yourself, right? So what do
mm.
you think about it? And if you have something to share, any personal stories or probably any other story that you come across.
In a roundabout kind of way, whenever you say thanks to someone, it'll make you feel good anyways, and I'll tell you what, see, when we make a choice to be grateful, okay, we are forced to see the good in others so that we can say thanks, because that's what we've decided to do, right? So it all stems from a choice, okay? So we're choosing to be grateful, so we see something good, we hunt for something good in others, and then we say thanks. And that opens our hearts to really see someone else. It helps the other person know that they're appreciated. See, all of this, okay? So when we do that, it opens their heart to want to help us more. So even without us knowing, they work behind the scenes for our favor, and that makes us likable. You see? So
Yeah, yeah.
when people like those who make them feel appreciated, important, understood, validated, and all of that can be achieved by a heartfelt attitude of gratitude, which means if you
Hmm.
are saying thank you to me, I will like you more.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
for me also. Gratitude works for me as well. Just my own gratitude has come back to me as me being liked by someone else. And you know what? When we were talking about that employability thing, I this is a topic very close to my heart.
Hmm.
That likability is the number one factor in anyone getting a job that they desire.
Oh.
And one way to ensure that people are liked is
Hmm.
by making them feel important, appreciated, by saying thank you, by feeling the gratitude. It's so simple, and yet people miss that all the time. And in most of my employment trainings, which I do for employability,
Hmm.
I stress on this likability factor, because I know professional recruiters who will say, okay, I know they have the qualities of this, they have so much knowledge or they have so much experience, and this is why they need to be in this job. They'll do wonders in this job, but there's just something about them that I just don't like. And based on
Oh,
that one
okay.
reason, they will now look for some reason to bring them down.
Hmm.
you know so
Yeah.
likability is the only one factor in getting anybody getting a job, that everybody has to understand. And anyone to be liked, they only have to appreciate me. For instance, if I'm recruiting and you make me feel appreciated and important and validated and all of that, by just saying thank you and understanding, oh no, I know how busy you are, and it just opens my heart to want to help you. And when I want to help you, I'm feeling good and you're getting the benefits because you said thank you. So you're getting the benefits of it anyway.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I often have so many students, coming to me and saying, "Hey, Anamika, can you help me with my CV, or can you help me with the document, whatever?" And I always say I can, but I won't, because there are important words and phrases
Okay.
missing from your sentence. So how about this? You go back, you work on what you actually need to say. I'm waiting. I'll wait here. And when they
Okay.
actually
Let
come
me
up with
try
the
before you answer. Let me try and
mm,
let's see if I pass
mm,
the test or not. Okay. So if if I want to get my CV looked at
mm,
by you, I'll start
mm,
it by saying, "Hi,
mm,
Anamika. Would it
mm,
be possible for you to have a
mm.
look at my CV? I'll be very thankful to you, and I'll owe you a big time." Did I
Nice.
pass? Tell me.
Yeah, with 50%.
Oh my God. I
That's
don't
why
have. I'm not
Manik,
used
no,
to getting 50%.
no, Manik, it's not that. It's that, when people, to make you feel understood, like for instance, you, Manik, if I come to you and say, "Hey, Manik, I need my CV done, and I've heard so much about you. I have seen people, I've spoken with them who have done their CV with you, and I feel that you have this wonderful way of absolutely putting in the keywords that I need. You can assess me better than I can
Oh,
assess myself. Would you mind having a quick look, please? And I know you're busy. Please, can you make some time? How about that?" So until kids actually reach that level, I'll keep telling them, "No, go back again, try again, ask me again, ask me again, ask me again," until they actually reach this space where they can see me. And once they see who I am, then I say, "Yes, now you've got it, and consider this your lesson number one." You know?
well, I'd give you 110 out of 100 easily.
So sweet.
Right.
No,
So,
but
yeah,
this is an important lesson. That's why I keep telling them, "I'm waiting. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. And I can help you for sure. Just go back and word it again. No, I'm not happy. Word it again. Try and say it again. Try and say it again." I think they must be thinking I'm mad.
no, well, this is the biggest learning for me, and I've made a mental note for me. I've locked it in a box in my brain, and I'll make sure it's always there.
That's
And
so
something
sweet.
that, something
Because
that you said,
gratitude
yeah,
actually is for making people see what you are about, right? It's about seeing the heart. And that's what, if I want you to be seen, I can't just say, "Manik, thank you." I have to tell you what you're about, that I see who you are, right? That's
true,
the one that's
true.
going to unlock everything in your head.
Got it,
Mm,
got it. I think it's seeing beyond the obvious, like
correct.
probably getting to understand a person on a deeper level and then commenting on it.
Yeah,
So
you are so
something that, huh?
kind. No, no, I give you 110 out of 100, man.
Well,
You are
that
so
I know you're just joking now, but anyway, so something that you said about, like how this concept of employability and gratitude is so close to you, and I just want to explore it from the other side. Like, let's say I am a recruiter, or I am an employer, or I am from someone from a HR and culture department. How do I make sure that my employees, people who I work with, right, how do I make sure that the culture in my organization is full of gratitude? How, like,
by
what are the possible things I can do?
hiring the right people, by hiring people that actually believe in the same things that you do, by your company value being based on that itself to begin with. you know that's
Got
how you
it.
can ensure that you do that. Yeah, yeah. And I personally, I mean, I have recruited for years. Okay, I have trained for years, and I know that I have never, no matter what it is, how much qualification you bring to the table or experience, unless I feel that you will have a culture fit, I will not
Hmm.
hire you. And one of my culture fits in any organization that I have worked, I've ensured that likability is number one. Everyone has to like working with everybody else. That's where team play comes from. That's where interpersonal skills come from. All of that comes from all of this.
Got it.
Negotiation skills, everything comes from there. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Beautiful. Well, and I think that's and so I told you I started working with an NGO called Community Lab, and then we had a conversation about it. And I think
Mm,
this is like this whole podcast is turning out to be a very sort of like good learning for a person who's looking for a job, and I think overall navigation of your life. And
wow.
that makes me come to my next question, which is one of the last questions as well.
Mm.
How is a person, or just want to understand, if you can explain me, how would a person look like when he, she, or they don't are not, don't feel this feeling of gratitude, or are not thankful towards themselves or towards other. How does that look like?
That looks like a sad world. At least that's
Yeah.
what I think. Because there are times then when experiences happen, and this happens in everybody's life, when we don't feel the gratitude because certain experiences we don't want, right? Why would I want, let's say, a complete blackout or my electricity going off? Why would I want that? So obviously I don't feel gratitude at that time. And that's the tough call. That's the time when we need to summon in everything we have and think about it as an experience in that negativity which you were saying, the subtraction method, and say, okay,
Yeah.
now that I don't
Mhm.
have it, I appreciate it so much more. So let's again begin to say thank you, and really everything just falls back in place. So people that don't see that, I just feel for them. And I have actually tried to tell people as well, and that's not a good tactic, I've understood. You can show them what you do, but if you tell
Okay.
them, that's wrong. Yeah, so
Hmm.
I don't do that. See, because the act of doing something thankworthy is in itself an act of love. So we all know we're here to love, learn to love, and that's what makes the world go around. We all know these things, right? But
Got it.
if they don't say thanks, their world doesn't move. And then they get into this whole depression and all of that. And I keep asking them, because I do counseling as well. And I'm always
Hmm.
asking, so how many people can you list what you like about this person? And can you list the thanks that go with him or her? And then things start to move only when you're grateful. So when you're not grateful, things will not move. And that's as simple as that. Thank you is actually a currency. It's the currency for the universe. Your gratitude is what makes everything move. That everybody knows. So many books have been written on it. But as far as I'm concerned, it is my personal quest that anyone leaving my presence must leave feeling super fantastic about themselves. And very often that can be achieved by just my gratitude towards any aspect of our relationship or something that they might said, done. As long as when they leave me, they need to feel, wow, I am so super fab. That's my
Got it.
quest.
Wow. One thing that I really love about how you
Mm.
talk is the way you explain. I mean, you can make a person paint a mental picture. I think that you have an amazing skill. I really appreciate that. That's
Oh my
commendable.
God. Manik, you're making me feel bad.
No, I really mean it.
Yeah, yeah, please. I have been a big fan of you from the first time when we connected. I've been thinking, oh my God, what is this boy? He's like, incredible, incredible. So I'm just so delighted. I cannot thank you enough, for having me on. And like I said, your questions are so insightful, and how calmly you ask them. And when I went through all your topics, now I saw the variety of topics. That means, how intelligent you have to be to have all those topics in your head. It is incredible. It's,
Well, I think this is a very good example of how I already feel very worthy, and how you have been showing gratitude, and I already feel worthy. And this is an amazing like meta thing as well. Like, we are doing a podcast on thankfulness and gratitude, and there's a live example that's going on. It's beautiful.
how sweet. How sweet. That's so
Right.
nice.
Anamika, I have a last question for you, and I just want to, because so
Hmm.
when you were talking about that Sanskrit, the lines that
Full of
you said, and
compliments.
how you gave that analogy about the present that's like,
Right.
that's grabbed but not given. So I just want to understand, and I think that's going to be amazing. What's the
Mhm.
best advice that you ever gotten related to gratitude?
Best advice I have got.
Yes.
Ah, I, oh my God, I have never gotten advice about gratitude. Wow,
Wow.
that's something that's making me think. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I
Well,
think I was already born saying thank you. So I
okay.
don't, I think if anything, they just tell me to shut up. But no, I don't know. Like you said, metaphysically speaking, your thank you keeps the energy moving in your favor. It doesn't. So I really am. I'm trying to think. I don't know. If I do get that answer, I will let you know. What
and
what
and
is the
and
best answer?
and then
Mm.
takes me to the second part of the last question. What would
Mm.
you give, or what advice would you give to someone?
Oh, what I would give to people, that
Yes.
oftentimes people say that and I feel that it's a misconception. People say, no, I don't do it for the thanks. I do it because I want to do it for somebody and all of that.
Mhm.
But the universe functions on grace. It's like unless you keep the energy moving, it doesn't work. So let's say somebody comes to you for training, okay, Manik, and then you
Mhm.
say, I'm doing it. And then they go without saying any thanks, not a word here, And when they don't do that, their training, all of the time that you have spent with them and trained them is not going to work because they have blocked the abundance by not saying thank you to you. And so they haven't learned it. It's not something you want, it's something they need, you know? So this is the best advice I can give by asking people not to say, don't thank me. Let
Got
them
it.
thank you because that is sometimes the only currency that you can get out of it,
Got it.
you know?
Every podcast comes with a lot of learnings for me. And
Mm,
usually it's one or two things, but I'll tell you, I've already made a list of things that I learned from this podcast. And before we end this, I just want to, like reiterate
mm,
for you
mm,
and for me as well. So the very first
mm,
thing, how you
mm,
connected the recognition of privilege
mm.
with gratitude. That is the first thing. I absolutely loved it. Right. And
Oh,
second,
thank
how you talked about the boundaries thing. No,
you.
gratitude
Yes.
gets you what you want, but also make sure that you don't get what you don't want. And the example that you gave of your 8-year-old son, I think that's beautiful. I mean, that's an amazing technique, right?
Yeah.
And then how you spoke about gratitude is not only not only makes you feel worthy, it also gets you a lot of money. Basically means it gets you employability, right?
Yes.
So and these are I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two or three more, but then I loved the podcast, I enjoyed this conversation, and I think I was throughout the podcast I was very hooked to it, because even for me, like personally, this conversation has a lot of learning, so I absolutely loved it. And I want to
Really.
thank you for being here and
Oh,
sharing all your thoughts, and having. And
oh,
I just remember one. So how you gave me 50 marks. I think I'll take that grudge to like for for forever. But I that's also a learning for me. But yeah,
no, no, no. You have said it right.
just want
I
to
was just joking
thank you
about it.
for being on the
No,
podcast.
I was just joking about you. Okay, that's just ignore it. I cannot thank you enough, Manik, because with all the kind of topics that you have, but also the kind of knowledge that you have gained and your style, it is incredible. And I just want to thank you because you have made it such an easy process. I've never done a podcast before. I have screamed at my students. I've done all of that. I do lots of training, but just speaking into a camera or speaking to somebody that has never been done. And I really want to thank you because this is incredible learning for me as well, and how delightfully you've conducted the whole thing. Thank you very much. I am so pleased. I'm kicked. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to a lot more conversations with you. And yeah, till then, take care, Anamika. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.